Good morning, friends. Good morning, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Urban Homesteading channel. I am Professor DIY. Behind the camera is Mrs. DIY, and somewhere around here is Grandpa DIY. We hope you're having a great week and you're having a great weekend. Here in North Carolina, we have a nice, crisp fall weather, right?
Yep.
I wouldn't say it is cold, but it is definitely not warm anymore.
It's brisk, but also very sunny.
As you can see here, we are in our kitchen because we're going to try to address I won't say it's a pressing problem, but it is a little bit of a problem, right? If you have a kitchen, you also have a cooktop.
Right.
It might not look exactly like this, but more than likely you have one, right?
Right.
So we're going to build something today that will enhance both the look of the cooktop, protect it, and also make your kitchen look better. So you are our favorite viewer, and stick around because this is going to be a very fun episode. So cooktops are like workbenches. You don't use them all day long, and they are nice and flat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens when you have a nice and flat surface?
It collects things.
It starts collecting things, and it looks like that, and it of course disrupts the continuity of your cabinet. Your countertops. So today we're going to build a solution to it. Something that will elevate the look of your cooktop, protect it. In our case, this doesn't need protecting, it's a very durable top. But if you have like a gas stove or something like that, it will prevent things from falling there, potentially getting into your burners and making them not work efficiently.
Right. Even if you have the older coil type, it's
Right.
difficult to use it as a flat surface.
Well, we want to use it as a flat surface, but also one that we can clearly, very quickly fix if we need to, right? I mean,
Yep.
clean it.
Right.
So today we're going to build, what are we building today?
We're using a cooktop cover.
A cooktop cover. That's what we are. And like in any project, the first thing is what you're going to build it from, Mrs. DIY.
Wood.
Wood. In our case, it will be wood, right? But you can use other material. You can use metal, you can use stone, you can use different material. The process will be the same. The machining will be different. And in our case, because we have a nice pallet that we've saved, we're thinking we're going to use pallet wood, right?
Yeah, we're going to try it. We have a very nice palette and we haven't used it for anything yet, so.
So what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
Now, disclaimer, this will not really fit very nicely this specific top because we're building it for a different top. We're building it actually for a stove top that uses gas.
Right.
So when we're showing it to you, keep that in mind. It will not look exactly right for this specific stove. I mean, stoves have different dimensions. This one is 22.5 inches deep.
Yep.
But it's 25.5. Most standard tops, kitchen tops, are 25.5 inches, right? And this one is, that's probably closer to standard.
That's pretty standard. Yeah, most.
That's a
others
30.
are 30 inches wide.
Yeah. So you do need, contrary to what you usually do in our channel, which is do not use tapes, you do need to have dimensions for this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
To make it correctly. And also, what you're building it for might determine exactly how you build it. And we're going to talk about that a little more as we're building it. So this is our product for today. We're going to show you every step of the way of how to do it yourself. So stick around. This is going to be another really, really fun video. And this is the pallet we plan to use to get wood from. Even the best laid plans sometimes are doomed to failure, right?
Right.
Well, we like the character of those boards. We immediately run into problem. They're very easily split.
Yeah. Trying to get them off of the frame with these nails that are driven in, they're starting to split, and clearly they're made for a very basic structure, right?
Right.
Not made for anything completely solid.
And because the dimension we need, the width of the boards If we cut them from the pallet, which is something we've done in the past, will just not be the right dimension anymore. We have to abandon this plan. Pallet will not be what we have to use today.
Correct.
So let's look around the shop and find at least what type of wood we need to use, and then we can probably purchase it because we have been using our scrap, so we don't. And this being specifically certain dimensions, it might be very hard to find scrap we can use. So let us raid our scrap pile. So we found a board in our scrap that we like the look of, and we like the dimensions, right? You don't want the 2x material for this project. You want the 1x material, and this is a 1x6 by something. It's clearly a remnant, right?
Yeah, it's probably about 4 feet right now.
Which is definitely not enough for what we need to do. And we don't have enough of them. This is the only piece we have.
Yep.
Which means we're going on a road trip.
Yay!
So we're going to take you on a road trip to our local big box store. And then we're going to start building. We're at our local Lowe's choosing lumber. Because this will be a finished product, we're using a better quality lumber than just a 2x or 4x4 material. This is a little better quality lumber, but still you need to be able to choose what you want because it will not always be straight or uncapped. So we're taking our time here choosing the best boards we can find at our local store. So we're back from the store and we're all lumbered up. We are going to transform these hunks of wood into a beautiful display piece to protect our new stovetop. No, it's not a stovetop, it's a cooktop.
Yep.
Same thing, right? Like we normally do, we're going to set a stop for our miter saw because this will be the most efficient and also the most consistent way to cut the wood. Again, it is not important that you're an eighth off. It is more important that all your pieces are the exact dimension. So this is what we're aiming for. We're aiming for the same dimension, not necessarily that everything is 1/8 or within 1/38 of the correct dimension. That is not as important in the vast majority of woodworking build. So we're getting ready for our first dry fit, and Mrs. DIY is removing the never to be removed tags because they put them there with the. Whenever you want a strong adhesive, you should use whatever they use on those labels, right?
Yep.
Because these were not intended to ever be removed. But once we have all of the labels removed, we are going to put the boards together and we're going to have a general idea of the size of this. For reasons we're going to discuss in our next 2 episodes, we do not have access to our power sander right this moment. So we are reduced to using manual labor. Right?
Manual tools.
Manual tools. Because those labels really do not want to get removed. For this specific project, we need a furniture finish type of grade. So we don't have access to our sanders, our power sanders, but we do have access to our planer. And since this is going to be kind of a finished project, we are going to plane the boards. We're going to take very little out of each board, just enough to have a very smooth surface, correct?
Right.
Technically, a planer is not needed, nor is it the right tool for this job. However, planers leave a very nice smooth surface, and if you have one, you can substitute sanding with planing. These boards are actually in very good shape and very good thickness, so no reason to plane them. The surfaces are pretty parallel already. But since we have a planer, and we do not want to spend a lot of time sanding, we're using our planer, and with only one pass on each side, we have boards with really soft sides, ready to finish without a lot of time spent. So we planed both sides of each board, and that was a fast way because again we do have the planer,
Right.
and we want it to be as smooth as we can make it without spending a lot of time hand sanding it. Not that there's anything wrong with hand sanding it, right? You can do it, and that's all you have. That's fantastic. It's just we try to finish the video so we can post it. So doing things the fastest way is important to us, but it's not important to the project.
Right.
For example, you don't even need a chop saw. You can use a hand saw to cut those. I mean, they're pretty straightforward cuts.
Yep.
Nothing really fancy here.
As long as you're making it straight, that's what counts.
That's right. So a few episodes ago, you watched us using our very nice assembly table, which will be nice to use today. But unfortunately, we're in transition right now, Easter egg, and we just don't have access to it. So we made a makeshift assembly table that is big enough for this project, right?
Right.
It's not perfect, but it is going to do what we needed to do.
Yep.
Okay.
What are we doing, Professor?
We're making pocket holes. And why are we making pocket holes? A, we're impatient, and B, we need to connect the boards to each other to make one surface. We are going to put glue in one surface too,
Right.
but we learned from previous projects if we do not clamp them very well, they have a tendency to move. So
Right.
we're trying to avoid future movement. That's all we're doing right now. You can leave it just with glue. I mean, you will have to put something, right?
Right.
But you can leave it just with glue if you so choose, but we chose to go this
Yeah.
route.
And also, it takes a longer time to set when you use just glue. And so, to be able to manipulate the piece to finish it, we are going to use additional secure methods like the pocket screws.
More better. So with what will be the bottom of the piece facing us, we use 3 pocket screws to connect each set of boards. And here you could use some biscuits for alignment. We didn't. Maybe we should have.
Maybe.
But or you can actually do nothing. You can just clamp them and wait for the glue to dry. We just didn't have the time to wait for the glue to dry.
Yep.
So
And
the
we
ne-
did put glue in between each
Right.
of the boards as well as the pocket screws.
So the next step will be we'll turn it over because this is not going to be visible. We're not concentrating to make this perfect.
Right.
That's why the pocket screws are on the bottom because you will never see them. But we're going to turn it over and we'll try to make the top as perfect as we can make it.
Okay.
At this point, we have the top surface ready, other than finishing, right?
Right.
So you can leave it like this. Because it's kitchen, I will recommend you do some finish so it will not stain very easily.
Right.
But definitely you can do whatever you want, right? We are going to stain it because we usually like to stain over leaving things natural. But you can paint it. There are many ways to finish it, right? Also, at this stage, you can end. This can be the finished project.
Right.
Especially if you have a flat cooktop, one of those modern glass. This is it. I mean, it's simple.
Yeah.
You put a couple of handles to lift it easier, and it is it, right? We are going to go an extra step for 2 reasons. We like the look of it being a little elevated, and we're going to put it on a gas stove, which is going to
Right.
have raised burners.
Right.
So we don't want to sit that directly on the burners. I guess you could, we just choose not to.
Right.
So we're going to add a detail. So we're going to put a frame around it, as you see here. That will go around, it will elevate it, and it will frame it, right? It will be a,
Yes.
That's what the frame does, it frames
Yep.
things. So this is what we plan to do. Again, you can stop at this stage and be done, right?
Yep.
Of course, there are other options. You can put the frame like so,
On top.
right? This
Right,
is
and
not the
this-
correct length, of course, right?
Right. So that would be flush, and you would not see the frame underneath it.
Correct.
Then you would only see the top surface.
Correct. So the next step for us is to cut the dimensions that we need, which is this dimension, and make 45s, and then we're going to make a dry fit. Because of our purpose, we're going to have visible fasteners, brass screws sewing in the attachment. Another option, of course, is to use pocket screws to attach it. We want that look that will sew, so we're going to show you this option as well. Stick around, there is a little more to come. We don't want any handles on our top, Again, you can put handles if you want on your top, right? But since we don't have handles, we need to have a way to pick it up comfortably, especially if it has things on it, and not throw everything off. And as we were looking at our table saw, we kind of like this sign. This is the style, right? This is what we're looking at to build. So we traced the table saw, as you can see here. And we're going to use our bandsaw to make this shape on both of our sides. Again, you're doing that on your side pieces, so that's the only
Right.
thing
Not
to
on
keep
the
in
front.
mind. Right.
Yep.
Excellent. So we used our bandsaw to cut the first shape, and we are happy with the outcome. And we can use either the cutoff or the actual piece to mark. It would be easier to use the actual piece because that will center it, and we won't have to calculate anything. We'll just put it together, right? And if it's flush in the back, and our dogs are barking at nothing. Again, it's a simple process of tracing and then rinse and repeat, right?
Yep.
The bandsaw is probably an overkill for this specific product, but we have it, so we're going to use it. A jigsaw will work beautifully here, as will a scroll saw and even a hand saw. A hand scroll saw will also work beautifully. When we will show you equipment and how we do things, doesn't mean you need to have that equipment to achieve the same results. A lot of times we use the equipment because we have it, and primarily because it makes things much faster for us, and we have to produce a video for you. So doing things faster has value to us, but it doesn't necessarily add any value to the craft. A lot of people enjoy the process of making something, and hand tools can do a wonderful job of something like this. So do not go out and buy tools because you don't need them. You can do any product we show you with basic tools. There is no doubt something really mesmerizing and satisfying watching a piece of wood be transformed by the simple act of cutting something. And here we're going to show you how precision is really important. You're going to see how Mrs. DIY here barely has any space left as it makes this turn. And while we'd love to tell you that was because of planning, we simply just got lucky. As you know, nothing but the latest technology here at the Urban Home Study Channel. Right, Mrs. DIY?
Right.
We're using the most advanced artificial intelligence powered, what do you call that, curved sanding process.
Oh, yeah. Curved manual sander.
Not manual, artificial intelligence powered.
It looks like my arm is powering it, however.
Well, you're only looking at the implement, the tool, you know. You need to look beyond the tool. So for us, the next step will be to stain before assembly because we want the screws to be part of the design. But if you do not want to do that, or if you have hidden fasteners, then the next step will be to assemble and then stain. We usually like to test the stain on the piece that we are going to stain, and there is no better piece than an offcut, right?
Right.
Because we know everything is the correct consistency, correct thickness, correct wood.
I think that'll be nice.
Okay.
Hope
Excellent.
so.
Very good. And as always, you see the immediate transformation, right? It's almost like magic when you apply stain, isn't it?
Yes.
The detail comes up just staring at you. So we're going to finish that and the three sides, and we're going to be right back with you. And slowly, unassuming pieces of lumber are transformed to furniture, right?
Yep.
A finish is an amazing process. As you can see the wood transforming in front of your eyes, almost becoming something different. Very poetic on my part, huh?
Very.
So here is the finished, what we call it again?
It's a cooktop cover.
And this is the other side. You see the pocket holes here. But you see, we have to the raising part. And now Mrs. DIY will turn it over so we can show you the top. And it looks pretty amazing. I am really happy with it. And as you can see, here is where the handle is. It's very comfortable to lift. So then you put your handle
Yeah, right there.
there. Alrighty, excellent. So if you stick around, like always, we're going to give you tips and tricks on how to do this, and we will show you every step of the way. Well, friends, this is the finished product for today. Now, this does not fit perfectly on this stove because we didn't make it for this stove, right?
Right.
We made it for a different stove. And if you make it for a stove like this, you don't really need to be as raised as we are here.
Right, because this stove comes out from the wall a couple of inches, and
The cooktop top does not, so it will go all the
Right.
way to the wall.
yep,
And also, this is a glass top stove. It doesn't need the riser at all.
right,
We're using the riser because the gas stove will have the, I don't know what they're called, the burners,
right. The
but they are
burners,
raised. So we needed to have a space underneath.
right,
So we don't touch the burners for two reasons. One of them, safety, in case they're still hot
right,
and you don't want to set this on fire. This is good. And the other reason, and the reason why we have the back open, we might need to show that actually. We didn't show that. The reason why the back is open is because the cooktop this is made for is actually a gas powered one, and we don't want gas concentrating under the surface in case we have a little leak, right?
right.
But in any case, this is a $200 to $300 project. We spent $30 in wood.
Woof.
Woof. We spent $30 in wood, and the stain. If you have the stain, it's not extra cost. I think we bought the stain for this, right?
We did. Yep.
So how much was that?
I think it was about $10.
So still under $50, right?
Right.
You definitely will not buy that under $50. So again, save by doing DIY.
Right.
Any learnings, Mrs. DIY?
Yeah. We need to make sure that we have all the pieces that we need at the right angles, and we really needed a little bit more stability and workspace to put this one together.
Right, and what Mrs. DIY is referring to, we made sure that we were square,
Yep.
but we didn't make sure we were plumb.
Right.
So we should have used our joiner. We didn't. We have a joiner, but we didn't, which made assembly a little more trickier than it needed to be. But overall, if you take your time, make sure you're both plumb and square with your pieces, you're going to have an excellent result. Overall, are you going to rate it a beginner, intermediate, or advanced build?
I think this is intermediate.
All right, so for you that you want to go to the next level, you've done simple projects, you want to do a little more challenging, this is a good project. Again, you can finish it any way you want. In this kitchen, for example, you might want to paint it white to match the cabinets,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you could.
You can do whatever you want. Yes.
From my perspective, even though our kitchen cabinets are white, I like the contrast.
And actually, other than the dimensions, I don't mind that it goes there.
Right.
I mean, I would have made it a little smaller because it comes out, but
Right.
I mean, that was accidental, but I like that it is under the...
It is. Yeah.
the stove. And of course, the advantage of this is if you put something on top, now you don't worry about leaving marks, or if your stove top is a little hot, you're not going to make things dirty. We're going to make one more step off camera because we ran out of time, and that is we're going to put some finish, poly finish on it, right?
Right.
Again, if you put a glass and it has a little bit of water in it or condensation, you don't want it making a ring on this, right?
Right.
So poly will protect that, and just by wiping it, you will be done.
Yep.
So this is our product for today. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the other button twice. Share, like, subscribe. Let us know that you like this episode and you would like similar episodes to this in the future. From Professor DIY, Mrs. DIY, and Grandpa DIY, let's build something together.